Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. You may notice this is a very long episode, a very special and long episode of the Menschwarmers. We had our whole episode taped, and we got an opportunity to interview Team Israel catcher Ryan Lavarnway that we couldn't pass down. So there's an interview with Ryan at the top, and then it will be our normal episode, including a head-to-toe analysis of the Team Israel World Baseball Classic roster. So please tune into the interview with Ryan, and then the rest of our episode.
Well, hello, everybody. Really exciting times here on the Menschwarmers. As we get closer and closer to the World Baseball Classic, we've been trying to bring you the most exciting stories and guests that we can. And where there's a Ryan Lavarnway, there's a Ryan Lavarnway.
Yes.
Ryan, welcome to the show.
I've never heard that one before. Thanks, guys.
I'm happy to be new. As long as I can get some, that's really the end of my material. So the next 10 and 15 minutes will just be the two of you.
Yes, and if you happen to hear my 8-month-old daughter babbling in the background, I am on daddy duty as we record this, so please forgive me.
No problem. We're all parents of young children and have dealt with children wandering into the back of the podcast at times. But we really do appreciate your time. You mentioned off the air that you're getting ready in just a few days to fly out to WBC camp. Where's that taking place this year?
We are meeting in West Palm Beach or Jupiter, where the Marlins do spring training. We'll have 2 practices, 2 exhibition games, and then we rock and roll.
Who are the exhibition games against? Is it like internal, or are you guys playing other teams?
I believe it is against the Marlins spring training team and then the Nationals. But
nice.
If I'm wrong, don't hold my feet to the fire.
No, that's great. I was just, in preparing for this interview, I was watching some clips from the 2017 World Baseball Classic that you, of course, participated in as a member of Team Israel. And it was at times sort of jarring seeing how cavernous and empty the stadiums were where you guys were playing. Like, I watched a clip that you hit a home run, I think, against Taiwan, and there were like 2 people in the bleachers, walking over to go get the ball kind of thing. I'm sure there were people in the, behind home plate area, but for some of those games, it was sort of empty. And I feel like these Team Israel games, whether it's a scrimmage against the Marlins spring training team or the actual games themselves at Marlins Park in Miami, are going to be pretty well attended. I think you guys are going to be fan favorites for a lot of those games.
I think you might have seen a clip from the only game that wasn't sold out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When
fair
we
enough.
played Korea, that was definitely a sellout crowd. That was an unreal environment. We played the Netherlands in game 3, I believe, of the first round, and that was a great crowd. And then when we went on to Tokyo for the second round, every game was sold out.
Fair enough. The Tokyo ones for sure. But I just mean that I do think it'll be a pretty, heavily Jewish crowd and, Team Israel favorite crowd down in Miami.
Hopefully. That was like when we played the qualifier to make it into that 2017 tournament, and the qualifier was in Brooklyn. Felt like a home game.
Yeah, it is. There are probably as many Jewish baseball fans in Brooklyn and Miami combined as there are in Israel, or there were in Israel before 2017. Nowadays, thanks to you and the team, that's certainly changing. But this is, just to get some, context, this is your 3rd appearance sort of in a cycle for Team Israel?
Yeah, unless you count the qualifier in 2016 as a 4th.
Right.
That 2017 tournament in the qualifier, and then the Olympics in 2021 as it was, and now this.
We recently, us, like many other Jewish sports fans, were captivated by the article you put on your website. I think it was about a month ago, about how meaningful it is for you to represent Team Israel. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that was not something that I saw coming when I first signed up to play for the team all those years ago. I was not connected with my own Judaism. I'm not a religious person. I was born and raised a proud American citizen.
Sure.
And I had never even been to Israel when I signed up to play for the first time. But what it's come to mean for me was playing in that tournament in 2017 and the trip we took to Israel. I found myself as a man. I found myself as a Jew. And I found my love for baseball all over again because I was at a low point in my career when that tournament took place. So it was super meaningful to me, and it's not something that I take for granted now. And especially right now, like, I'm very aware of what's happening in Israel and the horribleness of it. But
Sure.
just like when something happens in America and there's a mass shooting or something that happens horrible here, or you didn't vote for the particular government that is in office for those 4 years, that doesn't make me less proud to be an American. And the things happening currently in Israel with the government and the tragedies don't make me any less proud to represent Jewish people and the country of Israel.
I think we'd agree it's greater than the country itself, as more as the concept of what it represents.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's been amazing to see for you and other members of Team Israel how it has really connected you to Judaism, your roots, the country, and making that connection. And now it seems like this team is returning a fair number of people who played on the 2017 team and the 2020 team. Are you excited to see your buddies again? Is it like going back to camp? Like is it exciting to go see your teammates from Team Israel?
I'm the most excited to see Josh Zide, who will be the pitching coach for this team. Him and I became best friends through this experience, and we talk almost every day. We're very tight. He's involved in things going on in my family and vice versa. So I'm super excited to hang with him, but the rest of the guys as well, because before the 2016 qualifier, I walked in there thinking this was a great baseball opportunity. And I was so excited to play in this worldwide tournament, the World Championships of Baseball. And I saw it as my only opportunity to get in the game. And it was Josh who spoke to the group, who said this, in 2013 when we tried to qualify, I was the guy that blew it.
Okay.
And we missed the qualifying, and it's eaten me up inside every single day since then. It's the biggest disappointment, yada, yada, yada. And it really started hitting home for me right during that conversation that this is bigger than just a baseball tournament. This is more than us being guaranteed 3 games and a flight to Korea. This is the highlight of people's careers. And we have the chance to build a fan base, and we have a chance to grow a sport that really doesn't exist in Israel right now. So I'm hoping that I can be one of those guys this time around for the new players we have on the team.
That's great. It's interesting. I was just going to say it's interesting to see the breakdown of the team. That there's a few guys like you who are real vets who have been through the major league process and through the international baseball process. I know Shlomo Lipitz is on the the backup pitching squad. If you guys make it around, but I'm sure he'll be there. But he's the second oldest player in the whole tournament, and has been with Team Israel Baseball. For many, many years in some capacity. And there's guys who are coming up who are, prospects who are recent draft picks, who have their careers ahead of them, who I think I imagine are going to learn a lot from you guys both about what it means to be a ball player and what it means to be a member of Team Israel and represent that team.
I think you need a good mix. You need the older guys that have been there, done that to maybe set the tone, but you need the young guys. You need the energy. You need the uncertainty. You need the fire that comes with being young and having something to prove. I'm hoping that it'll be a great group. And like I said in my blog post on my website, I hope we can punch above our weight because the pool that we're in is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. Like last time around, I don't know if a lot of people had a lot of money on you guys beating the Netherlands or Korea, but you did, but it wasn't, Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico and Venezuela. I think you guys are going to surprise a lot of people who haven't been paying much attention. I read earlier that apparently Buck Showalter has money on, not literally, but he's predicted Israel is going to surprise some people and come out of the pool.
Regardless, I think that it'll be a good time. We'll show what we've got, and hopefully we'll make people proud regardless of the outcome of the games.
So I want to talk about your life a little bit. This is an auditory medium, so not everyone can see what I am seeing. But in Ryan's office, sort of behind us, I count 18 baseball helmets of all different teams and organizations you've played for. First question, which of them is your favorite helmet? And second, of all the cities you've played in, which has the best deli?
Which has the best deli? That's very specific.
Or Jewish food. You can pick any Jewish food you like.
I'm looking at the helmets behind me. I've always loved the Baltimore Orioles logo with the bird and the white.
The two tones.
Oh, it's beautiful. And that one's got pine tar on it still from when I wore it in the game.
Nice.
I love the old Cincinnati, the C from the Cincinnati. I got a lot of them. You know, the one from the Olympics is over here on this side. That's got a special place, obviously.
Are there Team Israel gloves behind you?
Yeah, this is the one I wore for the Olympics, and this was
Right.
another custom one we had made that didn't fit, but it looks cool.
Yeah,
it's extremely cool.
two blue gloves.
What you cannot see
very nice
in your view, for the two of you that are on camera, or for any of you that are listening, is directly behind my head is I have all my minor league championship rings and my World Series ring, and then above that I have the bottles we popped of champagne after the World Series.
Oh, wow.
And all the guys on the team signed them. So that's
that's amazing.
That's nice.
Yeah, I noticed. I could see a wine bottle there, but I didn't quite get this. So you've been playing professional baseball for a very long time. You've played all over. You know, you've seen a lot of guys. For our audience, if there are a couple of players to watch on Team Israel, who are you the most excited to play with, and who do you think, you know, could really have a breakout tournament?
Oh man, well, Jock Peterson is someone that I don't know yet, but I'm very excited to meet. Everything that I see about him, everything that I hear about him is just incredible. When he went to Atlanta and came out with the pearls and came out with that letter in the Players Tribune, I think it was, where we just might be them MFers.
Right.
I am so excited to meet this guy.
I think he's gonna bring some real attitude to the team. It's gonna be great.
I hope he does, and I hope that some of it rubs off on me. And then somebody that I played against last year in the minors that I think people should get excited about is Matt Mervis.
Yeah, Mash.
This guy is the real deal. When he was up at the plate and I was catching, he was like, "Hey man, you got to get me signed up with Team Israel. I really want to play."
Oh, that's
wow!
I was the gatekeeper, and I was like, "Oh, I'll make a call." And then he won like Cubs Player of the Year, and we were begging him to play for us. So it ended up being maybe a match made in heaven. But this guy's going to be the truth. You're going to be hearing his name for a very long time. I'm excited to see what he can do.
I remember, this is just a personal story. I was at the 2019 Cape Cod Baseball League Championships. I was at a game that was happening, and he was playing first for Cotuit or Harwich or whatever team it was in. And he's just massive. Like he's a big boy.
Yeah.
And you know, it's nice to see, like, you know, I don't want to be stereotypical, but people don't often think of Jews as the biggest and strongest of people. And you know, it's going to be nice to see.
Yeah, and hopefully hit some homers.
And hopefully he mashes some taters, mashes some Lutkas. Can we call them Lutkas? Is that a thing? Can you take that to the team? Say that we came up with it. A mashed tater is a Lutka. Anyway, enough of that.
So that's an interesting story about Matt Mervis talking to you about joining the team, because you know, we spoke this is ages ago now, but we spoke to Jonathan Mayo about you know, putting some of those early Israel baseball teams together, and a lot of the difficulty was just sort of trying to figure out who is Jewish in the first place. You know, and there's guys like Ty Kelly who the name isn't really giving you much. I would say you're probably in that camp as well. I know your dad's not Jewish, so your last name isn't like a stereotypically Jewish one. How did you get found out, or how did you become discovered? I don't mean it in a bad way, but how did you first get involved with being
I got
identified?
asked to play for the team. I got asked to play for the 2013 qualifier.
Okay.
And I said yes, of course, but I was in the big leagues during the qualifier, and they just missed. Right. I don't know. I mean, that was a long time ago now. I don't know how they found me, but I'm glad they did.
How you got clocked exactly? Something that I don't remember if he said it to us or he said it in some. There's an interview with Ike Davis where he talks about, you know, once you appear on Team Israel and people know you're Jewish, you have fans in every single city you go to.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you play, but somebody's going to say, that guy's Jewish, I'm Jewish, I like him. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
What I can tell you, the best story about that is that I'm on Cameo.
Oh,
sure.
About 99% of the Cameo requests that I get are for somebody's bar mitzvah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Hey, heard you're a baseball fan. Heard you're having a bar mitzvah. Congratulations.
We'll keep
Ryan Lavarnway.
We'll keep that in mind for our 13th year of podcasting.
Nice.
Or my son's bar mitzvah, if and when, you know, you are still on Cameo. But that's a pretty good pluggable for you to plug on this episode. I noticed you also have your own podcast. Can you talk about that?
I do. I never thought I would want to have one because I didn't think I had a lot to say, but I was encouraged to start one. So I started thinking about what was I interested in. Mm-hmm. And the thing that really kind of gets me going is to think about people that have been high achievers, people that have found a way to accomplish something that millions of other people were aiming at, but fell short for whatever reason. What made these few success stories get over the top?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk to people about what was your mantra, what was your family motto, what was your mindset, and I also want to humanize them because I know it's never a straight shot to the top.
Right.
What obstacles did you have to overcome, and how did you do it? So that hopefully I could take something away, and hopefully anyone listening could take something away too.
It's actually very interesting you bring that up. Speaking of success not being linear, I think Team Israel is a great example of that. It's a team that, as you said, didn't qualify in 2017 or didn't 2013, had a great success in 2013, sort of made up of a lot of guys who took 2017, made up a lot of guys who have taken pretty circuitous routes in baseball. Shlomo being a great example. He has a day job. And he's an Olympian.
Yeah. We really rallied around that. My podcast is called Finding the Way, by the way. I don't think we mentioned it.
Sure.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you want. But yeah, the Team Israel, we really rallied around being called the Jamaican bobsled team of baseball.
Right.
And being told that we were cast as the perfect Bad News Bears team that had no business winning, but found a way to win anyway. We rallied around that. It became a collective chip on our shoulders. And a shared vision of something bigger than ourselves. And I think that maybe being called the Jamaican bobsled team of baseball was potentially the best thing that ever happened to us.
Wow. Talking about unlikely beginnings, I was curious if you feel that way because of your own sort of story and career before baseball. I know you went to Yale University before you were drafted. When you started at Yale, was your anticipation that you'd be a Major League Baseball player?
Yes.
I mean, obviously you were playing baseball there, but was your goal to play hard and get drafted, or to become any of the number of things one can do with a Yale degree?
It was. No, from the time I was 5 years old, I only had one goal, and that was to play in the big leagues.
Right.
When I went to Yale was the only college that really recruited me for baseball.
Oh, wow.
I was a late bloomer. I was never the best player on my high school team. I didn't really even start on the varsity team until I was a senior in high school. And I went to Yale with the intention of getting drafted, and I didn't know until maybe like 2 years ago, like long after I had been a big leaguer, that there had never been another hitter out of Yale to make it. I didn't know that. And I was blissfully ignorant. And I just told myself that if I'm good enough, they'll find me, or no matter where I am. Was
the last player before you Craig Breslow?
Yes. The only three that have ever made it to the big leagues, to my knowledge, at Yale are Ron Darling, who's a pitcher, obviously.
Yeah.
Now he does all the baseball talk stuff. He's fantastic. Craig Breslow, pitcher, who's now the vice president of the Cubs, and me.
And you caught Craig at one point, correct?
Craig and I were teammates in Boston.
Right.
And people were freaking out. It was awesome. And we were
good all Jewish battery.
Israel. And you know what? Craig has always been nothing but the best, generous, so kind. Took me under his wing. He is. I have so much respect for him, and if anyone ever says a negative thing about him, they'll have to hear from me.
I haven't heard a negative thing one, but I bet I could ask around it. No, I'm just kidding. So, I mean, it's been wonderful talking to you, Ryan. Before you go, is there anything else you'd like to plug? Anything you want to tell our listeners about? Any games? We know the game schedule, but what's the one you're most looking forward to?
The game I'm looking forward to most is the first one, because
Sure.
I can't look past one. You don't want to look at game 3 and forget about game 1. So I'm looking forward to just getting down there, being with the boys again, and seeing what we can do. Hopefully we surprise some people. And I think that what we did last time was we had some success, and we rose the profile of the game of baseball in Israel, and we made it easier to recruit players this time. People are more aware. They think we have a chance. I hope we can do that again, because it's good for baseball. It's good for Jewish baseball players. It's good for Jewish baseball fans, and it's more fun to win than it is to lose.
And what's on the horizon for you after the tournament? Are you going to be playing again this year? Are you going to be playing in the minors, or moving on? What's on the docket for you?
If that's a tough question, we ask the hard hitting ones on this podcast.
Yeah, only time will tell. I have this little girl right here who is starting to lose it. But we'll see.
That's great.
We left one last question about Yale. When you got into Yale, decided to go to Yale, how excited were your parents?
I think they were thrilled and then realized that they don't give scholarships and then were terrified.
That's a great answer.
A pretty good place to call it, I think. We'll let you get back to your kid. But thank you so much for the chat, Ryan. This was really wonderful.
Thank you, boys. That was fun anytime.
During World War II, the Nazis began a little-known program of extermination for their own children. In Peter Klenott's new mystery thriller, The Unwanted, 14-year-old Hannah Ziegler is being driven by her grandfather and her psychiatrist to a euthanasia center. 16-year-old Silke Hartenstein graces the cover of Nazi propaganda magazines. Avi Kreisler is a Munich police detective rounded up for Dachau. And a patrician father hopes his son David McAuliffe will be elected the first Catholic president of the United States. In The Unwanted, in the aftermath of war, revenge brings these four people together in ways unimaginable. The Unwanted. Do not skip to the last page. Find it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
So you and I are both on little vacations with our families last week, but we're back now, and it's an odd numbered year in the standard calendar, and it's Purim time, and that can only mean that it's World Baseball Classic season. That was a long walk. Absolutely. So it is going to be the fourth iteration of the World Baseball Classic. There was supposed to be one, sort of. There wasn't exactly.
It's the fourth in like 20 years? No. Yeah, 20 overall years. When was the first one?
The first one, I think, was in 2006. Is that right? It is the fifth. I'm sorry. It is the fifth World Baseball Classic. There was none in 2020 or 2021 because it's been every 3 or 4 years.
And then COVID.
And then between COVID and the Olympics, which sort of subbed in for a World Baseball Classic, there wasn't one. But now it's back. It is being played all over the world. And Team Israel has qualified. They qualified automatically because of their standing in the last World Baseball Classic. I think we've sort of discussed that ad nauseum back in 2017. They swept the preliminary round, the first round and made it into the playoffs. Where they didn't make it very far, but they beat Korea, they beat the Netherlands in their opening round and had an amazing run. So we will be diving in deep dive into Team Israel baseball this episode. Before we get to that, I just wanted to touch briefly on something we spoke about in our last episode. We profiled golf. We talked a lot about Max Homa, who was just off a PGA Tour victory, and he was playing in the Genesis Open now about 2 weeks ago and came in second. He had an amazing run at a place where he has won previously.
He's previously won there, yes.
Yeah, it was his hometown course at the Riviera, and it was just an amazing final day. He was up against John Rahm. They were paired together, and they were just going head to head the whole day. But he sort of faltered, and he had a chance on. I think he was 17. He had a chance and hit a bunker shot that he basically needed it to go in, and it went into the bunker. He was very emotional after the tournament.
Extremely extremely sentimental. It was quite humanizing, and I think got him a lot of fans.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's now in the top 10 in the official world golf rankings. That means he's going to be playing all the majors this year,
officially in the top 10. Good for him. I mean, we spoke last week, if you want to go back and listen to our episode with Dan Rappaport, golf journalist. He says the next frontier for Max is that major win. So we're hoping for it. Again,
I am very much on the side of thinking it can happen this year, and we will continue to check in. The Players Championships coming up in about 10 days, and I think that's going to be a big stepping point for him. We'll see how he can perform there, with all the best players on the PGA Tour. Gabe, any other Jewish sports news you want to go over before we take our very, very inside baseball look at the World Baseball Classic?
Absolutely. I wish there was a Yiddish term I could think of for inside baseball, but it's deep in there. It's, for those who know. But Jewish sports news, F1 starts this week. The first F1 race of the year is this week, featuring, usually Jewish driver Lance Stroll. However, there is some drama.
Okay.
Our friend from Montreal, young Mr. Stroll, has fallen off of his bike. The rumor is he has broken both of his wrists and will be out for an indefinite amount of time.
Is that a euphemism, or truly he fell off a bike?
That is, he truly fell off a bike. Well, he did something that led him to break both of his wrists that was not in a car.
Okay.
So he missed all of the practice last week. Now, here's where it's interesting. Lance Stroll, the Jewish driver, might be replaced this weekend by their backup driver, a Brazilian of Austrian descent named Felipe Drugovich.
Wow. Jewish?
I know. I'm going to say quite the opposite. I think it's his great grandparents may have come from Austria in sort of the mid 1940s, early 1950s period to Brazil. And several generations later, he is a Brazilian Austrian race car driver.
Interesting.
That said, Lance said this week, I mean, we're recording this on Wednesday night, he said today that he's going to be evaluated and try and drive with potentially 2 broken wrists. But we will see, those are just the rumors. They're pretty tight-lipped about this whole thing. So we could get, an exciting Jewish debut. Their car is supposed to be very good this year. Or we might get Felipe Drugovich, who, let's not dig too deep into his family's past.
Well, that is very interesting. I can't imagine driving a regular car with 2 broken wrists, or really doing much of anything with 2 broken wrists. But, having to do all the insane, like quick twitch muscle, hand-eye reflex, hand-eye coordination things that you need to do when driving an F1 car. The idea of doing it with 2 broken wrists, like, I don't know. I always think of it like, when I think of someone with a broken wrist, like I just think of like quintessential, like they have a cast around their wrist, like it is in a sling. They cannot move their wrist for a while. But like every now and then you'll see like football players or baseball players even like play with like something that's like a broken wrist. And it's like, yeah, it's a small bone in their wrist, but it's like, yeah, but they're throwing it anyways, or like they're holding a bat.
I always find this,
especially with baseball, you see guys who just have injuries that are like they're just grimacing all years, like George Springer in 2022, just like, yeah, my elbow hurts insanely every time I do anything, but I'm still playing baseball. Pretty well.
I always found it amazing. Similarly, when when like Shaq would be out because of a pinky toe.
Right.
It's like the tiniest little bone, and then it takes down somebody as long as big as Shaq. That said, I'm pretty sure you need your wrists to drive at high speeds to like turn the wheel with all that torque on the car. But that's what's going on with Lance. There's also one other debut I want to talk about, a very exciting debut. University of Denver graduate and Chicago Blackhawks rookie, born in California but grew up in Toronto, Cole Gutman made his NHL debut this week. He scored his first NHL goal. He is a nice Toronto Jewish boy and a nice California Jewish boy of both. Played all over North America, grew up in LA. And his great grandparents, I believe, were Holocaust survivors from, I think, Hungary. He grew up a big Dodgers fan, a little bit young for the Sean Green era. He was born in 99, so he doesn't quite remember it, but he graduated from University of Denver this past year, and made his NHL debut and already scored a goal. So welcome Cole Gutman to the, overall Menschwarmers world. He has a sort of he's a little guy. He's sort of a spark plug. And obviously was the captain. He was made the captain of his team, was a good student. I think he's everything you expect a Jewish professional athlete to be. And we're excited to see what he does in the NHL. Chicago's got a long way to go, but also a pretty big Jewish community. So we're happy for Cole and excited to see what he does.
That's great. We should probably do a more comprehensive NHL preview, playoff preview podcast once baseball season's underway. It's we're still a month and a half away from the playoff starting, but there should be a number of Jews involved and potentially making it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Absolutely.
So we'll check back in with our hockey boys soon. But for now, let's do it. We are doing a top to bottom, soup to nuts breakdown of everybody on the Team Israel.
Okay, hang on a second. This is a kosher thing. Is soup to nuts? Do you mean a reference to like soup nuts, like the kosher soup thing, or is that like a separate? Are we mixing metaphors here?
That's a great question. I don't know if soup to nuts is a whatchamacallit, like any Jewish origin as an idiom, but it is the name of a Three Stooges film. So that's pretty Jewish. So
that is pretty Jewish.
I don't know. I have no idea about the etymology of it though.
The three schlemiels.
Anyways, so I'm going to do some honorable mentions. before we get to anything else. So first honorable mention goes to Rowdy Tellez, the Bashing Boychuk himself, Milwaukee Brewers DH and first baseman and slugger. Someone we've talked about a lot on this podcast. He is not playing for Team Israel. He is going to be playing for Team Mexico. There was a great article by Adam McCalvey on MLB.com about how he decided to rep Team Mexico that I encourage you to check out. So Rowdy not on the Team Israel roster. They'd be happy to have him, but not there. And the other honorable mention is to White Sox ace Dylan Cease, who people were sort of, people in the Jewish sports media world were shocked to find out was
our milieu.
Was listed on the early roster for Team Israel and Team USA. He's not playing for either. And shout out to Lewis Keane, friend of the
pod
from the Forward, who did a deep dive along with a rabbi into Dylan Cease's Jewish lineage. So neither of those guys will be playing for the team. I also have some relatively recent news. I'm not breaking this, but this is recently reported news that two players who are going to be on the Team Israel team are no longer with the team just due to injuries, and that's Jake Bird and Asaf Loengart. So Jake Bird, I think is someone who wasn't really expected to pitch much. Asaf
He's expected to play in the majors this season. Probably they wanted to save him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I think with the injuries, you got to be careful, especially for guys who are trying to break into rosters and have some showing. Asaf is a Israeli-born infielder, and he was on the 2020 team that went to the Olympics. So
interestingly,
it's too bad that he's not going to be able to make the team this year.
For those who might remember, we previously had on the show Dean Pellman, a member of the 2020 team, who told everyone to watch out for Asaf Loengart, as he thought he was the future of the Israeli national baseball program. So it's sad to hear that Asaf won't be at this tournament, but he's got all the talent in the world, and we've heard that from people who know.
That's right. So I am going to keep going now with the guys who are on this 2023.
Let's hear it. Let's hear about some guys. Let's hear about the whole mishpucha. Let's get the minyan going. Let's hear about some guys.
That's right. So the team is now carrying an unbelievable 22 pitchers. It's a 30-man roster, and there's 22 pitchers who have qualified for the team now.
They're going to have to cut that down.
I don't know if they will. I mean, I don't think everyone's going to play necessarily, but that is the team that they're able to bring to the tournament. I don't know if they dress everyone, but it's a 30-man roster, so they can bring everyone. So alphabetically, the first guy on our list is Richard Blyer. Richard is a Major League Baseball pitcher. He has played for the Yankees, the Orioles, and the Marlins, including parts of 2022 with the Marlins. He's going to be a Major League Baseball player. A Major League Baseball pitcher this year. He's been a really solid guy in terms of what he can do as a relief pitcher. He's played for Team Israel before. I believe he was at the 2013 tournament or the 2012 World Baseball Classic qualifying, and he's going to be suiting up for Israel this year. I think he's probably going to be one of the best pitchers on the team. One of their biggest stars.
Interesting Richard Blyer story. If you remember last year, he had he's got somewhat of a unique delivery and sort of got into like a brigus with the umpire. The umpire called him on 3 balks in a row in the same at bat. Which is a fun little Jewish baseball story.
Next up on the list is Daniel Fetterman. Daniel's pitched in the minor leagues in the Orioles system. He is 23 years old, and he is moving up through the ranks. He's pitched at A-ball for the most part. Daniel was a non-draft pick. He was a signee, and I not necessarily someone high on the prospect list, but he's a tall righty, and should hopefully get some innings in if he's lucky at the World Baseball Classic. Next guy on our list is Jake Fishman. Jake is a prospect, sort of aged out of being a prospect in the Oakland A's organization. He was previously with the Jays, you might remember. He, I believe,
and he's pitched to the majors. Last year, he made his debut he was up for maybe a week and down for, very, very quickly down from the Marlins. So he made a really quick one. Jake Fishman is probably meant to be a Marlin. That's some nominative determinism for you. It's like, if the New York Yankees drafted a guy named North,
right?
Something like that.
He did sign a minor league deal with the Oakland A's after last season, so hopefully after the WBC he'll have a chance to work out with them and play some spring training ball with them and maybe get a shot at their AAA or AA team and potentially having a roster spot at some point this year. He I believe pitched at the 2020 Olympics as well. He was definitely on the team, and he was on the team for the 2017 World Baseball Classic as well. Next up on the list is Brandon Gold. Brandon is a big righty. He's 6'3" from Atlanta, Georgia. He has mostly pitched in the Rockies organization and has been making his way through there. He's pitched at AAA a fair amount last year. He sort of aged out of being a prospect. I think he'll be 28 years old in the 2023 season, but I believe still with the Rockies organization. So we'll see what he can do. He's had a bit of a, he's gotten some innings under his belt the last few years, but hasn't really pitched to a fantastic clip. So this is a guy who can, I think, mop up in a game late in the game. He's a pretty experienced guy, but doesn't have a lot of heat behind him necessarily. So we'll see if he can contribute to Team Israel this year.
There's something I love about, going through a lot of this and a lot of the research we did for this episode. Just want to jump in and point out something about Jewish baseball players. A lot of their Wikipedias have their names, their parents' names, their parents' jobs, and often where they were bar mitzvahed.
I like that too. Next on the list is lefty pitcher Colton Gordon. Colton's in the Astros system. He's a young guy. He's going to be 24 this year. He's a decently ranked prospect on the Astros prospect list. He's on their top 30 prospects.
What's the opposite of a Mike Jacobs All-Star? I think Colt Gordon.
I was going to say the same thing. So he's from St. Petersburg, Florida. He, as far as I can tell, had a pretty Jewish upbringing. His middle name is Zimring, so maybe that's a pain to some Jewish predecessor.
Zimring.
But I agree. Colton Gordon is pretty much I don't know, Jonathan Mayo talked to us a while ago about all the work they have to do to try to find Jews, and sometimes it surprises. So I think he's a Ty Kelly All-Star, I think is the right word for it, right?
We'll have to tell Ty about his new name.
Yeah, exactly. That he's the honorary, not necessarily Jewish sounding member of Team Israel. After that is Andrew Gross, who is a pitcher who's been in the Tampa Bay Rays system. He also played a little bit in the Puerto Rican Winter League last year and pitched pretty well there, I should say. I believe he's going to be going back to AA for the Rays this year. Not necessarily someone who's going to make it to the show. He's again, they've put together a team with a lot of longtime minor league players, guys who have 5-6 years of minor league experience as well as some college. But someone who, if he has a good showing here, could wow a few folks and continue to climb up the minor league ranks.
Interestingly, Andrew Gross is not the same Andrew Gross who covers the New York Islanders for the Newsday and has written many successful drugstore mystery novels. Not the same guy.
After that is Jake Kalish. Jake has been around for Team Israel for a while. He pitched on the 2017 team. I think he got into a few games. I remember him pitching against the Netherlands, I think. He's kicked around in the Kansas City Royals organization and the LA Angels organization as well. I know that he became a free agent. I think he signed a deal to go back with the Angels after that. But he is another guy who is trying to make it out of the minors, try and get a shot at the show. There's a fair amount of guys on these teams who are again, it's sort of, they've aged out of prospecthood. They're organizational guys, and someone like Jake Fishman, Kalish is probably in a similar category where it's he might get a cup of coffee, he might get a show. He had pretty solid numbers last year for the Angels, and maybe we see him up in the bigs in 2023.
As long as that, yeah, absolutely. It's you keep the World Baseball Classic is absolutely a place to show off, and it's a place to some guys are there auditioning for a job like they would be in spring training, but they're pitching in some more meaningful games.
That's right. Next on our list is Rob Kaminsky, native of Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, Jewish bar mitzvah. Sandy Koufax is a boys' school hero. This is a guy who is, very solid Jewish upbringing and organization. He's also the first person on our list who has replied to one of our tweets. So,
hey, Rob, hope you're doing good.
Rob Kaminsky. Yeah, Rob's 28 years old. He is a rangy left-hander, so hopefully that gives him some variety. They've, a few lefties is always going to be important. So, congrats to Rob for making the team, and we'll see what he can do at the World Baseball Classic. The next guy on the list is one of the people who came in recently. I think he was a sub for Jake Bird, and that is an animal of a different stripe, Alex Katz. Alex is a Manhasset, New York native. Probably is that Manhasset one of the more Jewish Long Island?
I think so.
Yeah.
We're looking at sort of the Nassau County area, inland a little bit from the water. I think it's sort of, the sort of place, if you go on the Wikipedia of Manhasset, it tells you about what the transit prices were in like 1910,
Right.
which seems like a thing the old Jewish guys in Manhasset would talk about a lot.
Alex has kicked around on Team Israel a few times. He was on the 2017 team along with the 2020 Olympics team, and good to see him making it back there. I think I'm not sure if he's signed with the team now for the MLB season. I know he's been in the Cubs organization, I think most recently, but he was playing independent ball. So this will, again, a good showcase for him. Maybe it gets him in, if he gets a few innings in that look good. This is maybe he gets a chance to sign a minor league deal after this and get a deeper look from somebody else. Next line up is Adam Kolarek. Adam is someone who has played in the minors extensively. He was also, this is exciting, on the 2020 Los Angeles Dodgers World Series winning team. So He is someone with significant, a fair amount of MLB experience over the last couple of years. He played most of last year with Oakland, I believe. Some of it in the organization, some of it with the major league team. But yeah, he was on the Dodgers in 2020 So
he's quite an effective pitcher.
That's right.
Kolarek, however you want to pronounce it, has been, relatively successful. Quite successful as a career. ERA under 4, good for a reliever. Also is married to a woman named Shapiro. So with any luck, they're gonna create some more Jewish baseball players in the future.
Yeah, I don't actually know if Adam is Jewish or not. He may be.
Do you think it might be his wife?
There is one other player on the team who we'll talk about later, who is eligible to play for Team Israel because he's married to a Jewish person. And not to get too deep into the details of international sporting rules, but basically, if you qualify for citizenship, if you would qualify for citizenship of a country, that can qualify you to play for that team, even if you're not a citizen in that country. So him being married to someone named Shapiro seems to suggest to me that the reason why he's eligible to play for Team Israel is because he's married to a Jewish woman.
So she is definitely Jewish. Melanie Shapiro is absolutely definitely Jewish. A quick Google search will find a obituary from the Baltimore Jewish Times in which she is mentioned. So there's for that, that's the case. But not sure, if he is definitely married to, if he is also a Jew. If he is also Jew. So,
it seems that he is not. I mean, just having looked at it a little bit. Sorry, that one caught me a little bit off guard because I didn't realize there was a second person who qualified for this. But good on Adam Kolarek for making the World Baseball Classic and playing for Team Israel. Next up on the list is Evan Kravitz. Evan is a graduate of Rice University and is currently playing with the Cincinnati Reds organization. He has made it up to AA ball, and he played there for parts of last year. Presume that's probably where he's going to start at the beginning of this year. Again, another in this category of rangy lefties who maybe have a shot of being organizational guys who are making it. Should note that Evan Kravitz is 6'8". So good on him.
That's a big boy
among the taller Jews. Certainly, I think that'll probably make him the tallest player on the team.
I remember Nate Fryman, I think, was 6'6", 6'7", 6'8". So there's sort of a long history of this.
Right.
Evan Kravitz seems like a camp guy.
Next up on the list is a true blue major leaguer, and that's Dean Kramer. Dean is raised with a pretty significant Jewish upbringing. He is one of the few Major League Baseball players to say that he wouldn't pitch on Yom Kippur in Sandy's model. He's been with the Orioles for his entire big league career. I think he started out in LA, but for the Dodgers in the minor leagues. But he was part of the Manny Machado trade.
Spends his winters in Israel as well.
Yeah.
So actually probably, an actual Israeli citizen that predates the international sporting rules. One of the actual Israeli sort of not by birth, well, not quite birth, but, sort of by rule in addition to by sport.
That's right. And he is one of the few team members who's actually able to sport some hardware because he won gold for Team USA at the 2013 Maccabiah Games in Israel. So he has played, he's had some success at the international level. He'll be joining, his former teammate, Richard Blyer. And then, presumably heading back to Orioles camp where, he's going to have a significant role for the team.
Also, I was just going to say he is tied with 8 other people, including earlier mentioned Dylan Cease, as being the leader in complete game shutouts in 2022 in the Major League Baseball.
Is it 1?
It's 1.
That's great. So good for Dean. I mean, I think that he's probably a guy who's a big, just if you're a casual Jewish baseball fan, someone who's probably going to have a pretty good showing in 2023. He's a solid member of the Orioles staff, an Orioles team that is, I guess, surprisingly good, like better than people would have thought given their rebuild. He started 20 odd games last year. I think, they're going to continue to stretch him out and hope that he can get up closer to 200 innings this year. But he was a really, very solid contributor to the Orioles team last year. And I think will be this year as well. Next on our list is, I think a favorite of ours to a certain degree, as fans of the Team Israel baseball team for years. And that's Shlomo Lipitz. Shlomo Lipitz is the first, I believe, Israeli-born player to play for Team Israel when he played for Team Israel at the 2017 World Baseball Classic. Shlomo is, as I said, native of Israel, now lives in New York. I think notably runs City Winery in Soho. I think is a very funny tidbit about him that he played baseball growing up a little bit, like semi-pro, college, stuff like that. Never really had much in terms of minor leagues. But
he's just around on the team and will always be. He's just a stalwart of Israeli baseball.
Shlomo's 44 years old. He is the second oldest person in the World Baseball Classic of on any team. So I think it's fantastic that he's back for what I can only assume is one last ride.
I don't know.
I don't know that he's going to be seeing a lot of playing time, but it's great to see him there. And I hope he continues to be involved with Team Israel baseball in the future.
In the last qualifying, so we can talk about this little bit on Shlomo's history. In the qualifying for the 2017 World Baseball Classic, he had an ERA of 54, and he was brought in to record the final out and the final out alone of the European Baseball Championship.
That's great. That's what you want to see.
So he's very much as part of the team, and we are, extremely excited to have him on the team and talk about him. Oh, he's great.
Next on the list is Jake Mednick. Jake is a lefty pitcher, 26 years old. He's currently with the Mariners organization where he has been for the last few years. I believe playing in A-ball, he's made it up to AA at times. So another organizational guy who we'll see continue on in the minor leagues here. And along with Jake is Kyle Molinar. Kyle is a 26-year-old a 26-year-old Jew. He was originally drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals after playing at UCLA, or maybe that was before playing at UCLA. And then he was drafted by the Los Angeles Angels after playing at UCLA. So a real LA guy who has stuck around there for a long time. He continues to pitch in the Angels organization and will continue on there this year.
I always love the guys that stay at one city their whole lives.
That's right. Next on the list is someone we talked about a lot last year when he debuted, and that's Bubby Rossman. Bubby got a cup of coffee last year for the Philadelphia Phillies, playing against the Blue Jays. He had a decent run last year in AAA. I know he became a free agent after that, so I'm not sure if he's signed with anyone right now. But certainly will be someone will be on a minor league roster if he wants to be this year. I would think, presuming he's continuing on in baseball. But definitely the best name on the team. Maybe him and Shlomo, but Bubby Rossman, you can't get better than that for a Jewish baseball player.
I feel like in an earlier world, his name is Charles Irvin Bubby Rossman, goes by Bubby Rossman now. If it was 80 years ago and he was an entertainer, he would have gone by Charles Irvin his whole life.
Right.
Just dropped the Rossman.
The next guy on our list is one of the youngest guys on the team, a guy who I theoretically could be pitching for Team Israel for the next 4 or 5 World Baseball Classics, and that's of course Jake Steinmetz. Jake was, I think, notably selected in the 3rd round of the 2021 draft. He was the first practicing Orthodox Jew to be drafted to play for a major league team. he is
He
the
is
son, of
also
course,
a very large boy.
Oh yeah. He is the son, of course, of Elliot Steinmetz, who is the coach of the Yeshiva University basketball team. He has been pitching recently for the Diamondbacks, in the Diamondbacks organization. And he's, a real prospect. I think he didn't have a great 2022, but, he was playing against competition that was much older than him. He has some, really strong stuff. He has a curveball that really moves, and for a 19-year-old, that's pretty something. And for our more, religious listeners, I think he's really a guy to root for. He's Shomer Shabbos. He's kosher. He is continues to be a modern Orthodox guy, and that's pretty impressive for someone who's also playing Major League Baseball.
Minor league baseball, but yes, I also love
baseball.
that he's just sort of like a kid from Queens. Like you feel like Jewish kids from suburban California. Like yes,
Right.
we love them. Don't get me wrong, but it's like a real old school to have a Shomer Shabbos guy walk to the ballpark on a Saturday and then like throw 95 and then like walk back home to his mother's chillin'.
Yeah. One of the other veterans on the team, continuing going down the list, is Robert Stock. Robert Stock has played a fair amount of baseball at the major league level for different organizations. He hasn't pitched in the majors, I think, since 2021, and he was playing in the KBO, the Korean Baseball League, last year. Actually, I put together a pretty good record, starting 29 games for the Doosan Bears with a 3.60 ERA and 138 strikeouts and 165 innings. But after that, returned home and signed a minor league deal with the Milwaukee Brewers. So very likely we'll see Robert Stock back in the majors at some point this year.
I'd put Bob Stock in that Ty Kelly All-Stars group. Bob Stock is like a real, another old-timey baseball name. Like Bob Stock sounds like the sort of guy who would like fight a fan.
Right. That's pretty good. So yeah, let's see him, get his prospects backed up at the World Baseball Classic, and then hopefully make it back to the majors this year. Rounding out the pitchers, just a few left. I know it's a lot of lefties and righties that we've been going over. Is Joey Wagman. Joey Wagman is a native of Davisville, California. He was on the 2020 Olympic team, and I believe the qualifiers for the 2017 as well. I'm not sure if I can't recall if he was in the tournament itself, but he's definitely been a mainstay on the Team Israel team and in the various qualification tournaments, European Baseball Classics, and things like that. I think he's been playing overseas the last few years. He had some time in various teams' minor league deals, but I think sort of aged out of that. He's now 31 years old, so maybe his last time around playing for Israel at the World Baseball Classic. But I think great to have these veteran guys who have been there before and could help out in all kinds of ways. Another pitcher is Zach Weiss, who has been in the Reds organization. He did pitch in the major leagues for the Cincinnati Reds back in 2018, I believe, and sort of cup of coffee guy. Hasn't made it back to the show. Strike that. I'm wrong. He did make it back in 2022, pitching for the Angels, and pitched in 12 different games. He pitched 13 innings for the Angels. Actually pitched pretty well. He had a 3.38 ERA. He is still on the Angels roster, so he will probably have a shot at making the big league team, if not out of spring training, then shortly after.
That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. He was on the 2020 team in the Summer Olympics as well. So he is probably going to be someone who, actually gets to pitch at the World Baseball Classic this year. And the last pitcher that we have is Josh Wolf. Josh is from Texas originally, and he is a pitcher in the Guardians organization. He pitched all kinds of innings in A-ball last year. And
he's only 22 years old, so he's got a big future ahead of him.
Exactly. He's definitely a guy who has a prospect, who will continue to make it up. So keep an eye on Josh Wolf. He was drafted relatively high. I can't remember.
He was drafted 53rd overall.
Okay, 53rd overall. So that's a pretty high pick for anyone. So look to see him hopefully get a few innings. And he's only 22 years old, as you said. And look out for him in the Guardians. So those are all the pitchers. There's a lot of them. I don't expect anyone to remember them. But now on to the position players, and I think there's going to be a few names here that are a little more a little more familiar to some of our listeners and people who have been following Jewish baseball players and Team Israel baseball. There's two catchers on the team. I think the majority of the catching is probably going to be done by Garrett Stubbs. Garrett is, the backup for the Phillies, probably one of the better backups in Major League Baseball right now. I mean, he's behind, one of the best catchers in the game in JT Realmuto. But he was previously with the Astros. He was in the 2021 World Series that featured 4 different Jewish players. He played a fair amount with the Phillies last year and is going to play with the Phillies this year as well. He was on their World Series roster last year as well. And I think he's going to be getting the majority of the catching duties for Team Israel.
I've seen Garrett Stubbs play a couple of times. He is remarkably fast and has very beautiful hair.
The other catcher that the team is bringing is Ryan Lavarnway. Ryan is now 35 years old. He has been a guy who has stuck it out through a lot of major league baseball teams. He has sort of been up and down in a sort of career minor leaguer who has transcended to become a major league player at times and get roster spots. Every time he's written about it, I feel like he's the kind of guy that people write about where they're like really rooting for him to sort of make it, and he has really stuck it out. He was most recently with the Marlins, but then elected free agency after the year. He has been, a World Baseball Classic veteran. He played in 2017. He has played for Team Israel at the Olympics in 2020. Or maybe, I believe he played. He played in the 2020 Olympics. He is very committed Jewish baseball player, committed to Team Israel, and it's great to see him on another World Baseball Classic roster.
A lovable veteran of the world baseball, of the Israeli national baseball team. And he recently published an article on his own website about how much he loves representing his sort of adopted religious country.
Right. Moving on, we have a number of infielders, including Zach Geloff. Zach is a prospect in the Athletics organization. Not sure how much playing time he's going to get necessarily at third base, but he is a young prospect and someone to watch out for. On the other side of that, in terms of age, is Ty Kelly, who is the sort of mainstay former Major League Baseball player. He has retired from Major League Baseball, but I guess we'll see how much Ty actually plays.
Former Blue Jay, former Met Ty Kelly.
Yeah, Blue Jay for a few days. He's on the team. I don't know if this is like a player coach type role. He played in 2020 in the Olympics. Didn't play great, but great to see Ty back at the team. Obviously, he was a big part of that 2017 team that had such a great run. Also on the team is Noah Mendlinger. Noah is a 22-year-old prospect.
That is a great name, Noah
Mendlinger. Yeah, that's right. Noah Mendlinger. He mostly plays middle infield and third base. We'll see if he gets into a number of games. The other sort of non-baseball, non-major leaguer on the hitting side of things is Mash Mervis, who played college ball at Duke and is now a first baseman in the Cubs organization.
Matt Mervis has been a prospect for a long time. He had a great season last year. Was basically the best power hitter in minor league baseball. So it's exciting to see what he could do. He's sort of expected, I think, to make the team this year, the major league team. Chicago's just okay, and he's got a lot of opportunity. David Ross said he's looking for him to win a job this year in the majors. And maybe we're looking at the Cubs' next first baseman.
Yeah, definitely. I think this will be a good showing for him. I think Mash is a great nickname, and I think that's a Jewish baseball player we're going to really cheer for. Mash Mervis is a great baseball name, and
absolutely,
I think, he is definitely someone to keep on the roster for a long time. Rounding at the infield is Danny Valencia. Danny is a mainstay of the Israel team. He was on the 2017 team. He was on maybe he wasn't on the 2017 team, but he was on the 2020 Olympic team. Danny is the guy who people are surprised to find, another Ty Kelly All-Star. He's a Miami native. I think his family's Cuban Jews originally. But Danny played for 8 or 9 different Major League Baseball teams up until 2018. He's not playing professionally anymore, but definitely committed to Team Israel and playing hard for Team Israel. Exciting to see some of your old favorites, even if it's 38-year-old Danny Valencia, get out there and try to get a few pokes. The last infield is Michael Walensky. Michael is a prospect for the Cardinals as well. Or sorry, not for the Cardinals, for the previously for the Astros, and I think he's been playing independent ball the last few years. So not sure if he's going to get into a lot of games, but someone who's looking for a job, I believe, trying to get back in there, make a name for himself in the World Baseball Classic. In the outfield are two guys, a few guys that I think we're all going to be pretty familiar with. So one of them is Jock Peterson. Jock is a bad bitch. He is famous for wearing a pearl necklace. He is a guy who has had a really big an outsized MLB career and personality, largely due to his postseason skills.
Love Jock.
That has been
and
heating up the last few years.
Also, a lot of people are surprised that he's Jewish of the Scarlett Johansson variety, sort of the Scandinavian Laplander Jews.
Yeah, his dad was a pro baseball player too, and I think his mom is Jewish, and that's his Judaism by birth. But Jock is a great character. I think he's really going to lead the team this year. He's going to sort of be their captain of sorts. So really excited to see what he can do. Another guy who's going to hopefully be playing some outfield, I think, as well, is Jays first baseman Spencer Horwitz. Spencer's on the 40-man roster now. He hasn't played in the Major League Baseball. Sorry, he hasn't played in the majors yet, but had a pretty good showing for New Hampshire last year. He's 25 years old. He is, pretty high on the Jays prospect list. I think he's going to probably make the team at some point this year.
He's expected, I think, to appear at some point.
Yeah, like he obviously is blocked by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first base, Brandon Belt now too. But if there's injuries, if there's anything that allows him to have some playing time at first base, he's probably a guy that we'll see in major leagues this year. So excited to see Spencer. I think probably get a corner outfield spot for Team Israel. Not certain to me where he's going to play. I think he can play some outfield. So excited to see Spencer there.
Be very, very exciting.
Along with him as an outfielder is Jacob Goldfarb, another sort of organizational guy, 26-year-old, who's originally drafted by the White Sox. He's been in the Diamondbacks organization the last little while. I'm not sure if he's sticking it out there because I think he played in independent ball as well. But we'll see if Jake gets a little run. And then there's one other guy, not Jewish, so honorable mention in that regard.
I find this very exciting.
Yeah, and that is Grandpa Alex Dickerson. Last seen playing for the Atlanta Braves. He's been in the major leagues for the last 7-8 years. Who is not Jewish, but is married to a Jewish woman and is eligible to play for Team Israel because of that.
That's amazing.
So he will be rounding out the outfield, I think, probably with Jock. Another guy with great major league experience. So excited to see him play. Excited to see him represent Team Israel, despite presumably not having a ton of affiliation with the country. So. We did it. That was 30. We counted a full Omer of Jewish baseball players.
That is everybody. That is quite the Omer.
Yeah. We should mention that the coach, the manager of the team is Ian Kinsler. One of the greatest Jewish baseball players of the last generation.
A many-time All-Star. Yeah. A sort of proud Jew. There's great video of him blowing the shofar. We'll try and put that on our social media. When this episode goes out for you.
And a pretty solid bevy of assistant coaches as well. Brad Osmus, who obviously played very long Major League Baseball career prior to becoming the manager of the Tigers and the Angels briefly. Kevin Euclid, the Greek god of walks, as they say.
Hitting
Josh
coach.
Zeid, he's the hitting coach. Josh Zeid, who is a mainstay for Team Israel, was a huge part of the 2017.
It was a 2017 All-Star, actually.
He made like the all WBC team in 2017. Yep. So he's going to be the pitching coach for the team. I think those guys are going to be a lot of fun. Like I think there's going to be a lot of focusing on those guys just because whoever's covering the games knows them in all likelihood and knows that they're going to be interesting interviews and things like that. Sorry, I should mention as well Jerry Narin, who is who had been a manager, longtime coach, longtime bench coach. Sort of will be the sort of veteran voice. He is not Jewish, but he is a Christian Zionist, and I guess has. I guess to be a coach on the team, you don't actually have to be a member of.
That's my Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt should play for the team as a Christian, as an evangelical Christian Zionist.
I guess so. I think the story about Jerry Narin last year was he was signing. I can't remember what it was, but he was filling out the roster cards with. He was putting Shalom on it. Is that right? I can't remember.
I think so, or he was doing some sort of Hebrew thing.
Right. So, I guess we got to take what we can get. Christian Zionist on the coaching staff, that's fine. We're excited to see how it goes. So that is the roster. I want to just talk a little bit about the World Baseball Classic itself, so what we could expect. Part of what I think is so amazing about this thing is that all those guys we just named, guys who are organizational guys, guys like Shlomo Lipitz who are running wineries in Soho, they are going to be on a team that is facing in the preliminary, in the pool stage, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, and Nicaragua. If you know anything about baseball, you know that Dominican Republic team is comprised of like basically 25 all-stars. The Venezuela team has some of the best players in the league. The Puerto Rican team has former MVPs on it. It is going to be hard coming in those first couple games. These are not going to be teams that Israel is going to have an easy time competing against.
No, it's real competition. It is
competition. That's what I'm saying is so great. Like, you get to see these guys have a chance to go up against these unbelievable players and try to strike them out, just like any other baseball matchup. One pitcher, one hitter. You try to strike the guy out. You try to get him out.
And the team gets hot. They start, Jock Peterson puts on the pearls. They start moving with some good vibes. Like, anything is possible. I know we're all going to be watching the first game, I believe, is on Saturday the 12th. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
And the Israel hats and jerseys have already sold out. They're already on the secondary market for upwards of $70. We're going to be seeing a lot of sort of a lot of spirit, a lot of ruach for the team, from this podcast and from all these other ones. Saturday the 12th at 9 a.m. against Nicaragua. I'll be up watching early. Or Sunday the 12th, I think it is. Sorry, my mistake. Sunday the 12th at 12 p.m., 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern from Miami, starting with Nicaragua and then up against Puerto Rico, the Dominican, and Venezuela in that order. So,
right. So
second
this is,
place
I think,
in that bracket is not out of the question. They just got to win one out of the second three.
Here's what I think is Israel's secret weapon. All of their games in this opening round are taking place in Miami.
Yeah.
If you are a Jew in Miami and you care at all about baseball, go to some games. Like, you can make it there. You can make it there to some games, support the team, support the squad. I think that having a cheering section there is going to be a big deal. Now, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Venezuela, Nicaragua even as well, probably pretty well represented in the Miami area too.
Yes.
Like, they're aside from traveling fans, like, there is just a local community that is going to be there supporting. But if you are a Jewish baseball fan and you can make it to these games, I really, really encourage you to go, go check it out. Go watch Team Israel and support them. They're going to be a blast to watch. And it's baseball. What could be better than baseball? It's watching, an all-star team of sorts, playing another all-star team of sorts. It is guys who really care about this. Like, you could see the emotions last time around. The guys who were on the 2017 that made it as far as they did. This is great baseball to watch. The second, if Israel makes it on the quarterfinals, the semifinals, all that, it's in Miami too. So there is a chance, there's going to be a home crowd element if Israel makes it on and is, playing a team that doesn't necessarily have such a big fan base in Miami.
Miami's about as home game as I think. Maybe New York. If it was in New York, right, it might be a little bit of a home game. Unfortunately, the team is missing, as we, could have mentioned earlier, Harrison Bader in a previous episode,
right,
a New York Jew who was unable to make it to the tournament because of a sore back. But it's about as close to a home game as we can get. There's sort of a large contingent of Jewish sports media that's going to be down there. A lot of listeners of our show are going to be down there. We're really happy that you're going to be there, and we want to hear from you exactly how the tournament is going and how much it's fun, how much fun it is. I also think, of all of the teams visiting Miami, the closest Israel might just have like the oldest average audience. I think there's
right,
a lot of people in their 70s and 80s in Israel, a lot of people in their 20s and 30s in Miami too, but 70s and 80s who like their whole lives have dreamed about what a team of Jewish all-stars would look like. Like, what if you got all of the major league players in, who are Jewish and put them on a team? It's about as close as we've ever gotten so far. And every time that Team
right,
Israel plays in a tournament, you get closer and closer to that dream of like, your Max Frieds and your Alex Bregmans. They're not playing on Team USA, but if they would choose to play on Team Israel instead, or, Paul Goldschmidt is another example of Jewish heritage, who could make it on the team. Just like if you got everyone together, Rowdy Tellez, how good could they be?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think ultimately the problem with the world, or I don't want to say problem, the fatal flaw of the World Baseball Classic is the time. It takes place in March. It overlaps with spring training. There are always guys who are going to say, I just can't do it. I'm working on my routine. These guys, for the most part, playing at the highest level of Major League Baseball are working on their stuff 12 months a year. It's hard for them to take time off for this sort of tournament. And I don't know if there's a better time in the year for it or a better way to do it. But as it continues to grow, this is exciting, I think, because it's the first one in 6 years. It is we know that the tournament is back and it's going to continue on into the future. That I agree. That is what I want. I want a 2026 World Baseball Classic or 2027, whenever the next one is, that does have Bregman and Fried and Steinmetz and Geloff and some of these other young guys that we were talking about still on the team representing Team Israel. And
they've turned into all-stars. Matt Mervis,
exactly.
There's your 20-year-olds and your 19-year-olds are now your 23-year-old superstars. Max Fried is a wily veteran who could coach the younger Jewish players about how great Sandy Koufax was. You're a tricky lefty and no longer a World Series MVP.
Well, I think we should probably leave it there. I think we've done a pretty comprehensive look at the World Baseball Classic and Team Israel. I'm sure we'll be following along, so I do recommend that you check out our Twitter page while the game's going on. We'll probably be live tweeting and interacting with everybody who also cares about this sort of stuff on Twitter. So follow us at Menschwarmers. We're brought to you, as always, by the Canadian Jewish News. You can find our podcast and articles and everything else at the cjn.ca, produced by Michael Freeman. Thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe to the podcast and rate and review us as well.